All right, welcome back. You saw that child. That was creativity at work. And children, how they do their things. All right, now we have a financial expert in the house who will be addressing the effects of speculation on Forex in Nigeria. And he is Mr. Afiz Oladapo.
You're
So
welcome to Good Morning Abuja.
I was just being cautious.
No, you did it well. There's nothing. The name is simple and okay. Welcome to Good Morning Abuja.
Good Morning Abuja.
Yes, nice to have you on the program. So we're looking at addressing the speculation of Forex in Nigeria. So to set the tone of this conversation, can you help us understand the concept of speculation in the world of finance and economy?
When you talk about good morning once again, thanks for having me. And when you talk about speculation, practically, it's just that it's people believe that something needs to respond to a change.
Okay.
And when something needs to respond to a change in the market, you look at the volatility of that particular concept, which can either be positive or negative. You
Okay.
understand? So when you talk about maybe speculation in currency now, let's say like for foreign exchange, we don't know what may happen tomorrow or next tomorrow.
Okay.
Should I sell? Should I hold my assets?
Okay.
So what would determine that is what is happening at that particular point in time. If there's an information, a privileged information that wow, dollar is
go
going
up.
to
Prices
will
go
go up.
up.
I'd rather hold on to the one I have, so that when it goes, I can sell at a higher margin. But if I have a privileged information, so to say that okay, the price of forex is going to come down because if government do X, Y, Z, E, then if I have dollar at hand, I'll be looking for a potential buyer to sell to so that I can make a good margin at the end of the day. One of the key direct correlation to speculation in the world is that we're in a selfish economy, we're in a selfish world where people want to take advantage of people of others at every particular point in time. So speculation doesn't even apply to currency. It can also apply to properties too as well. Okay, for instance, now like in Abuja now, you can see that when we have a new sheriff, a new landlord, a lot of the lands have been there's activities in a lot of abandoned lands now. A time will come where demand will be more than where supply will be more than demand. So that could also raise speculation to say, let me quickly take my price off the market so that I can have a good margin in case there's a crash in price of property later on in the future. You understand? So speculation actually relates to changes that may likely happen in the market or in the economy that can either be positive or negative. Depending on the privileged information that people have at their disposal at every
Sometimes
particular point in
where
time.
does this privileged information come from? Because sometimes, just as you said, it might be what's the name now? How you get it? Is it authentic? And how do you actually know which one is authentic? Or yeah, just wants to hear information. I don't want to even care if it's authentic. You go ahead.
The reality is that we are in an economy where information is cheap now. Communication is cheap. Whatever happened before, people in Bonu are aware, people in our village are aware as compared to the way things were done about 20 years ago.
Yes, technology.
We are now in a tech-driven economy now. So every little thing before the whole of the people already have. Even though in pump price, you will hear they've not increased the pump price.
Most times.
You see people panic buying. Yeah, it's because a privileged information has been released. We make law, the law doesn't make us, you understand? We make policy, the policy doesn't make us. So whether I like it or not, whatever you hear outside that people are saying, some people actually there's a source to it. Some people were in charge in preparing those information. For example, in my own line of profession as a chartered accountant, there's something we call confidentiality. Yeah, you have to keep this to yourself. But people don't really abide by that rule. The fact that they are in charge, before maybe as a husband, he can really release the information to his wife. And before the wife will also tell colleague, and before or the sisters, and before the information will keep spreading, and people will now begin to panic that okay, this information I have is either is positive or is negative, and before people will have to now take actions on them.
Okay, so looking at this, how does it now play out in the Nigerian foreign exchange market?
You see, Nigerian foreign exchange market as it is today is a very complex issue. You understand? Complex in the sense that there are a lot of things involved. Number one is that Nigeria is an import-dependent economy. when you look at the microeconomic variables, we have like exchange rate, inflation rate, and interest rates. If you are going to rank, the most important is exchange rate. And I'll give reasons why. For like interest rate, it's not everybody that goes to the banks to borrow money. You know, that will only affect borrowers who goes to bank to request for finance. Inflation rate, fine, it could affect everybody, but the reality is that if the price of this is too high, I can readjust my lifestyle to go for something I can actually afford. Now, but exchange rates, because we are an import-dependent economy at a particular point in time, whatever happens is going to affect everybody. Because most of the things we consume are imported into the country. You understand? If you look at our balance of trade, imports exceed exports. You understand?
Wow.
So there's a direct relationship. So exchange rate, people keep speculating because the demand at the black markets is too much. We have a lot of Nigerians who wants to japa, who are going abroad to school. They need FX to run their activities. People who import their key raw materials to produce something in Nigeria, they need FX, you understand? At the end of the day, all these people, they run to the black market. And in economies, once demand exceeds supply, definitely the price of that particular commodity will go up naturally. There's nothing we can do. Now, if you look at it now, I think I was on your station about some weeks ago when we were talking about the leadership of CBN, when we also advised that CBN should review their position on the 43 items, and which they actually did, I think like a week after. But the reality is that for the past 8 years, when there's a ban on these items, is there any change in terms of import of this thing? These people still go to the black market. But now I think the pressure at black market will reduce. Now they now have access to get FX as the official window. So I think Nigeria need to move to an export-oriented economy. So when we move to an export-oriented economy, I think the pressure on FX will actually reduce. Probably before now, they've been using our reserve to back up, to defend the naira. For how long we'll keep doing that? Because if we continue to do that, it's like we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder that can explode at any particular point in time. So a drastic measure needs to be taken because the economy is damaged. There's an injury, and I think we are in the healing process now. It's someone that went to play football that got injured on the field. When you come back home, your mother will now start using hot water to help you to press. At that time, you'll be crying that there's a pain just for it to heal on time. So I think the process we are in now is a healing process. We are all feeling the pain, but I think it's going to take time. So Nigerians have to be patient. There's nothing the president can do. Even if it's Alhaji Atiku that is there or Obi, it's still the same thing because the economy is damaged and we need to get it repaired. You understand? The president can't give what he doesn't have. So he has to take a process and we need to exercise patience. So I think what the media houses should do and the ministry in charge of information and communication is to see how the masses can be informed of what is going on in governance in Nigeria, so that they will
we'll still come back. We still have time for some of the questions and some of the issues. So we'll go on a short break and then we'll continue with this conversation. We've been speaking with Mr. Hafiz Ismaila Oladapo, and he's been telling us about addressing the effect of speculation on Forex in Nigeria. So we'll go on this quick break, and after that, this conversation will continue.
Good evening. Glad to have you join us.
Thanks for joining us on Weekly News Wrap.
Thank you very much for having me.
And it is on that note we welcome you to today's edition of the program.
I will celebrate creativity, lasting impressions.
There's no book stating that this is the role for men.
On the news.
On the news at 7.
Jama'a barkanmu da wannan
The latest station, NTA Channel 5, Abuja.
Would say have a lovely day.
Welcome back. We are still addressing the issue of speculation on forex in Nigeria, and we still have Mr. Afiz Oladapo in the house. So let's look at what the government is doing in the area of regulating parallel markets.
For parallel, we have BTCs. We are definitely they have been licensed, you understand, to get FX from CBN and then sell to end users, you understand. For the power market, it could be a little bit kind of difficult because this is not dealing with an individual, you understand. And the reality is that there's a limitation of how this could actually be controlled because we have people who have stacked dollars in their house in one way or the other. So I do want to control that kind of people, you understand? And when people, the reality is that until we reduce the dependency on FX, that is when we can have a breathing space, you understand? But once we don't, there's nothing we can do. Okay, there are people, someone wants to travel now. He needs about $1,000. If I go to CBN, I may not get this thing on time. And I need to catch out on something. People is doing plus or minus. They'll go to the black market. So it's when the demand, if demand is reduced at power market and people come to the official window, the question now is that does CBN even have sufficient liquidity to meet those demand? It's a two-way question, you understand? Because what brings FX into the Nigeria officially is sales of crude oil, you understand? It comes I think about 90%, you understand? Now, if you look at it, there are thefts when pipeline, oil theft and other things like that. So all these things, they have, in one way or the other, they have their own effect, you understand? So that is it. So we pray, like they've said, that the Port Harcourt refinery will work maybe by end of the year, and maybe the Dangote owned also commenced operation, so that at least people who import fuel that can actually reduce. So that will also reduce the demand for FX. It's very annoying that we produce crude oil and we can't refine our product. It's very embarrassing. Just like you've gone to the farm to harvest cassava and you now import Gary into the country back. So do you know how many labor lost within that chain, within that process that we are losing now, to understand? So these are areas where we really need to face. The truth is that to the glory of God, I think the present government have been able to defeat the subsidy cabals. I think what they are dealing with now is the Forex, and I think maybe they are fighting back, but it's not really an easy. When they say cabal, we all know God knows who they are, and may Almighty God, save us from these people because the economy is crying, the economy is bad, but the reality is that there's nothing we can do.
Okay, so what do you think about the current policy by the government to allow market forces determine the value of the naira?
That is what I'm saying. Now, you are asking the forces, the market, to determine the forces without, there must be a formidable framework in place, because going back to the power market, you are not saying that you and I will be the one that will determine the price. So it depends on our bargaining power. You understand? I know, like I said, it's a selfish economy, it's a selfish world. We always like to take advantage of ourselves. When I know you don't have any other way to go, I will increase my margin to say this is that amount I want to sell. I want to sell my dollar, you understand? We also need to discourage where some people are being paid in FX in this country, you understand? There are some people that still receive salary in FX. These are putting pressure on the naira.
Okay, so how do we what can we do to actually strengthen our currency?
The key thing is for us to be an export-oriented country. Economy. Nigeria needs to start producing rather than consumption. So if I produce and I export, definitely I will surely earn foreign exchange. But in as much that our production capacity is still low, we are consuming. It's like we are going to the river to fetch water. We are going to the river to fetch water and pour it in the basket. Nothing will still change. We have to have that mentality to be able to produce. Another thing is that the psychology and the mentality of Nigeria need to change for them to also be patronizing locally produced products. If you go to the market and you see a foreign rice and a local rice, you see people will say, no, I want to go for the foreign rice because there is no stone. But in the local rice, there is stone. Then how do you want them to improve? You understand?
Well, we even have local rice these days that don't have stone.
But the thing is that for us, whatever we are producing, we should also be careful to make sure that
Yep.
when you place it side by
You're
side,
putting
it may not
quality.
be
You
the
should
same,
not. You should not.
but at least let it.
The reality is that you can't get it right in one day. Just like a fresh graduate that comes to work in your station here, and you expect the person to perform the way you are performing, is not possible. There's a learning curve. You understand? There is a process for that person to be able to match up to the standard of where you are today. Fine, if the local the foreign product is more better than the local. The reality is that with time they will also get to that level. But let's even begin to patronize. If it is when I patronize, I learn from experience and I improve on what I've actually done. But if you go to the market, it's very embarrassing that Nigerians will see something produced in Nigeria, they will abandon it and they will buy the foreign one. So how do you want the naira to get strengthened? You understand? So we are just deceiving ourselves. The psychology is there, even though the big men. Let them begin to use things that are actually produced in Nigeria. We have local content. Is it really working? They will say they are doing this project. The local content really need to work. It really need to come to space. So that's not where we can give support to the local producer, to the local manufacturer. I have somebody that said one day that I'd rather go to Dubai and buy my computer and supply than for me to manufacture in Nigeria. Why? He said because at least power is zero, road infrastructure is zero. And these are key items that in one way or the other they have relationship to all these things. So we have to, in summary, we really need to be an export-oriented economy. So when we are also an export-oriented economy, all these things will subside in one way or the other. There may not even be the existence of black market anymore again, because as long as CBN now have sufficient liquidity to supply the foreign exchange market, definitely the end users will have something to take home at the end of the day.
I believe that we should also have quality control units that will check our product. For instance, you see a made shoe. Some of them, you won't want to wear them. But if you have this quality control unit, or I don't know whether to say department or that checks whatever that is produced before it's being exported or before it's being sent out, it's better.
Then maybe that's for the government to see the way they can regulate some certain key items in the economy.
Okay, so before we let you go,
price control board.
You to have a final word, what should be done and what can be done to actually to make some of these policies to actually help our naira at the end of the day.
Maybe advice to government.
One of the things that Nigeria really need to change their mentality. Election is passed. What we have now is governance. So it's not about APC, PDP, or Labour Party. You understand? So we all need to change our mentality, and every key stakeholder should do what is right at every road they are being assigned to. They should ensure that the general interest should supersede private interest. You understand? Because it's one of the key challenges that we have. And the public sector entrepreneur, I'm also appealing to them. They know themselves. Public sector entrepreneur, people who are in government, they have companies in proxy. You understand? They know themselves. They should please, and ensure that whatever they are doing is actually in the overall interest of every Nigerian, not them alone, because they are one of our key problems and it's difficult to catch.
Okay, nice one. Thank you for coming on the program. We really learned a lot from you, and I believe the right people listening will actually put one and two together and make at least this country a better one for each and every one of us. So we've been speaking with Afiz Ismaila Oladapo, and he's been talking about addressing the effect of speculation on Forex in Nigeria, and together he has told us a whole lot. We'll go on the short break, and after that, the program continues.